It's like probably a good way to start because I was really passionate about soccer. I wanted to play like collegiately. Obviously, things didn't work out, and like that's okay. Not if I heard about it. That's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. But I just remember probably when we got like our new coach, our like junior year, I think it was. We like initially had Coach Nader, who was like the homie, liked him a lot, and then I forgot like who our new coach was. But it was just like after that moment, I just wasn't looked at in like the same way that the previous coach was, and I think that just kind of like took down my stock. And like you said, when you're like I'm undersized, but like technically like I'm pretty good, so like getting more confidence as like I'm going throughout the years, and then you get like this new guy just to kind of not look at you like the way that things were going was definitely like a confidence hit. I mean, you navigate that by just like training and whatnot, and by putting in work, was still able to like make increments and like whatnot. Made varsity probably like the first like few games of like the season or like preseason for like senior year, but ended up getting sent back down to like JV. So just to kind of like go back to like that adversity and whatnot, where you were saying it's just like, well, dang, dude, like I don't know, like I've been working so hard for like this goal and whatnot, and for it to not fizzle out, I think I like imploded. Like,
what's up, everybody? We got another episode of the Founders Podcast. Obviously, I'm X. I don't mean to sound like that, but I'm Xavier Annington, and we got my boy Davon Williams. How you doing, Davon?
Reporting for duty yet again.
Word. Davon, man, how has the past? I guess we did one 2 months ago. How's the last 2 months been for you? Just so that the people can know what's going on with you.
Yeah, pretty routine, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but just been staying to my little schedule that I have. So working out, staying on my meals, being proactive with all that stuff has pretty much been my prerogative over like the last like few months. So just been keeping at it with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I probably have to say the exact same thing. I know it might be boring, but I think that it is good that it's calm for a little bit. We have no idea what's going to happen later on. And this is an election year. Usually in America, that means, reckless news left and right, and it affects the American people. But for right now, I'm glad that we're kind of just in this mode of like, business is business.
Right. Yeah, taking a day at a time, dude.
Business is business. Yes, I mean, the workout grind got a few little promo things going on to later on just promote our online coaching business for Masters Rowing. We've got a 2K challenge for Rowing Cast that's going to be live on YouTube, live on Instagram. The 2K is the ultimate, race when it comes to rowing. So it's the indoor rowing machine. We're kind of putting like a little WWE vibe to it. Got triple threat match, got some main events, got some, undercards, and it'll be 1v1 filming on the 4th of July.
Okay.
And, just some fun racing. For rowers, it'll be more your niche, but we want to make it popular. We want to make it fun. So we want non-rowers to participate and to get into it. So, I mean, we got our first one that I can announce right now. We got Sammy Johnson versus Larry Jackson.
Larry
third.
Jackson.
So
did Sammy do any rowing at all, even if it was like for a little bit, or are they both?
Nah. So Sammy left Shaker after 6th grade, I want to say. So has no experience. Larry's been on the erg maybe once or twice, and training for this, he'll definitely be on it a little bit more.
Okay.
But it's pretty exciting, you know what I'm saying? So hey, we're gonna keep this up going for a week. I might have to challenge Davon. Somebody gonna have to face him. I think Davon would do. I think you would do all right. You know what I'm saying? At least you got to practice under your belt. You remember that practice back in the day?
However many years ago that it was, but it was still good nonetheless.
Yeah. So, man, really just getting excited for that. That's helping me train. I got my race against Corey and Lincoln. Corey's been getting fast, but Corey wasn't fast enough this week. Couldn't beat me. I told him, look, let's get this 2K out of the way. Let's do it. I did mine. I went 6:43. He went 6:50, and that's a pretty decent 2K. Nothing crazy. Both are not like amazing.
What's an amazing 2K time?
So an Olympic 2K time is around, 5:50 to, 5:50 to 5:40. I mean, it actually goes up from 5:40 to like 6 minutes, really. But like, D1, a D1 recruit is around like 645 to like 620.
Okay.
But then a college level rower is around that, 615 through to like, into the fives. So,
Okay.
um, it's a few splits off, but definitely manageable. I think that when we race in July, it'll be closer to like a 615 win, or something around there. Maybe 612 might be the winning time. I'm just making predictions here, but
Yeah.
Lincoln got his PR in rowing this week.
What was that?
His original PR, his personal record was a 6:33, so 6 minutes 33 seconds. He put down a 6:31 this week by himself.
Hey, good
Did
for
a
him.
really good job. So shout out to Lincoln. We'll have him on the podcast soon. There's a long lost episode of Rowing Cast with Lincoln in it, and I'm glad I have editorial decision skills that are not subpar. So I made sure it did not come out. So um, we'll make sure that we have him on the pod at some point. But yeah, killing it right now. So going after Corey, trying to just show him, come on, man.
Oh yeah.
That's how you do this. That's how you do this. But it's also just external motivation. So that's the way that I look at it as well. So
What was your best 2K time when you were like in the height of like your collegiate run and stuff?
yeah, so my best one was 612.
612, damn, bro.
612. Yeah. So I want to get close to that. I want to beat that. I know I have the capability to beat it. It just would take dedication and just, I fell out of love with the sport for a little bit, but I think it's really just like kind of like had to take a break from it because I had to just focus on real life for a little bit. But now I have some, free time. I have a little more breathing room where I can really dive into, putting in some work. And I've been putting in some work. And even though I'm like when I'm done with you today, I'm gonna just paddle a 5K just to make sure I got, some meters in for the day, regardless.
Oh, yeah.
No excuses. I mean, even off of like a hangover, fuck that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Get into the lab, get ready to go. So that's what I've really been on lately. And not drinking hella. So it's not like I'm like drinking hella, then I'm waking up and fighting it. But
the circumstances like kind of deal and you about to put in like those times.
yeah, and just being mindful, like, okay, before I go to bed, I'm gonna refill my bottle of water.
Yeah.
Sip on that boy till I fall asleep, so that when I wake up, what I'm saying, I'm feeling I'm in a good spot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Going to bed earlier than I used to. I still wake up in the middle of the night, but not as bad as it was in Dallas, man. I was nocturnal basically. I was like,
do you take like any supplements or anything for that?
what, for sleeping?
Yeah, because I know I had trouble with sleeping for like a while. Just kind of like what you said, waking up in like the middle of the night kind of deal. And then I tried out like a few supplements, and that like helped me out like a decent amount. So those are magnesium glycinate and then L-theanine. I feel like more people know about magnesium and its benefits, but yeah, I'll take like 100 milligrams, or I think it's like 200 milligrams of that with like 100 milligrams of L-theanine, which is like a non-essential amino acid that just promotes relaxation. So that'll help me like get to sleep faster. And then when I am out, I can usually like get through like most of the night without like waking up. So those have been like really helpful for me.
Word, yeah, no, I might actually take your advice there. I know my mom uses magnesium, but what helps me go to sleep is making sure I'm comfortable, but also making sure I'm not near any of my devices.
Yeah.
So I got to like I usually charge my phone on a desk just to make sure that I'm not like trying to see what's going on my phone.
Yeah.
Really be on some, and I know you're really good at that, but as long as I'm not near my devices.
Recently, but
yeah, I know, but I'm saying I know you can have control at it. So I really try to like at least, if I'm upstairs by 11:30, my phone is away and I'm just trying to rest. And I think most of the time I just get uncomfortable from being hot usually. Or just, I'm a cool sleeper. Like, growing up, or not growing up, but in Florida, going to school in Florida, man.
yeah.
I had my room at 60 degrees nonstop, right? When it was the university's bill, it was game over, right? It was game over.
Like it's like 30 degrees like here at like night, like 30, 35. 40, like that range. So my window's always just like all the way open, so I can get like all that cool air, dude. I need that
I
too.
feel you. I feel you, dude. That's what type of sleeper I am. But man, I just like these like I've been trying to look for these different ways of external motivation. So that's the reason why we're doing that, 4th of July challenge. And,
Okay.
that's why I like, extend the invite to you. But just so that I could look forward to something. So training, I'm glad I'm training now, but I
Hmm.
always have to be training for something ahead. So even, you look at some of those documentaries, right? Those Tom Brady's or the Michael Jordan documentaries, right?
Hell
They
yeah.
always has some incentive like that the public may not know about, or, I bet you their teammates know about it or their coaches, but like
Mhm.
most people just looking on TV, why is this man angry? He up 12. Like what, you know what I'm saying? What is going
Yeah,
on?
I definitely get that. Just having
And
like
it's like, yeah, yeah. What were you saying?
having like little markers. So I just have like a analogy, like when I do cardio, like on the bike, just like how you said, like I want to shoot for like 45 minutes to like an hour, but like I'm not just like thinking about that when I like get on there. I like break it up in like increments of like, 5 minutes. It's like, all right, get to 5, get to 10, get to 15. And that just kind of helps you like along the way. So just having like that mentality with like other goals and not just like fitness related, but like other goals in that kind of life, I think is like a good thing to do and something I need to get like better at. Because I could do it like fitness, like no problem, but having like that metric to like hold on to just to keep like you said, ourselves motivated. Is something that I think really works.
And I was looking, or not looking, but back in the day, there was an Idris Elba quote where he was talking about like himself swimming. Like he was just like talking about like how he just doesn't pay attention to where he's at while he's like doing laps.
Hmm.
And like, once his head is up, like I'm gonna butcher the thing, so I'm not gonna go exactly for what
Yeah,
what he said, right? So British ass that type shit. But he was basically just saying that like once he played that like mental game, he was
hmm.
chasing more and more, and by the time he looked up, he had done what 20 laps, but it didn't feel like 20 laps because it's that internal, external, whatever you want to call it, because partially it is internal in your head, but it's like, okay, yeah, I'm aiming for this big goal, but let's break it down in these little wins.
Oh,
Sort of like back in the day when I made that speech right at the end that when we graduated, but it's like you build those small wins and keep getting those small wins till it ends up being something solid, right? So
yeah.
um, I mean, it takes nothing, man. It takes something, but for the most part, you're being lazy if you're not going for it. And I know that sounds so cheesy and so like I don't know, man. Those influencers nowadays that just be saying stuff, but it just sounds like trash. Like they trying to be motivational and stuff like that, but it's like I don't know. But really, it is easy. But you gotta like, what is your goal? What are you looking for? What are you aiming for?
Mhm.
All right, do you know the steps? Most of the time we know the steps and then we
Yeah.
don't do it. But if you know the steps or if you need to find out the steps, figure out the steps, but don't contemplate on it too long. A lot of times people just be, I'm a ponderer ass dude, but you
Yeah.
can't be, right? Like
No, I
I
don't.
think yeah, I think that's what happens to all young men. Like I feel like that's a trait that happens with young men. We ponder way too much rather than, action, you know?
And like that's been like a thing that I am like working with right now with just like content creation, like whatnot. Because we've had like plenty of conversations of me like expressing that like I want to get into it and like whatnot. But I think the thing that holds me back is just kind of like what you said, my like need or like whatever you want to call it. It's like, hey, like I just want it to be like good like the first time around or like whatnot. But I think that detracts from like you said, just like taking action and then like getting content out there. And then like once you accumulate a certain amount, you're just gonna get better like naturally. So it's not like you have to really put too much thought into like what you're doing. And like that's not to say you don't put like any thought, but like when you're in those initial steps, like it doesn't really need to be like that, like you said, like thought out. Don't need to, go over it like so many times. Just like get it out there and then make, minor adjustments as you get more and more content out there. So
Yeah, and I think it's just like, I mean, think about it. When we've played new video games, there's that tutorial mode. At least you understand the constructs of the game, you understand the rules, And now, good luck, go for it. I remember back in the day when we was, still in high school or going into college, Hitman came out, the first one,
Yeah.
the remakes though. But we played that practice mission for so long that when we tried out the new ones, all right, we could test this. Okay, that didn't go right. That didn't go right. Right. So, but we found the avenues, and I think that's what we have to learn. Like, yeah, that's a video game, but once we understand the parameters of which, like, we're trying to make our moves or whatever,
Hmm.
whatever goal we're going for, as long as we know the parameters, we know the rules, it's better to just go for it and then adjust along the way, right? I mean, a lot of people would be like, well, I wish LeBron would have had 1 year in college, but I mean, I don't think he gets to 40K if he didn't go out there as a young man and just
Yeah,
try to adapt, right? Like, you know what I'm saying?
and I think like that's a big thing about it. Just to kind of like reiterate what you were saying, I think it's best just to like be thrown into like whatever experience or like goal that you're like trying to get, and then like you said, just navigating accordingly, because that's like playing time, for a lack of a better word. Like that's how you get like all the experience. It's one thing to like do reps and like practice and like whatnot, but until you're like out there like in the element, then like you're not gonna know how you know square up with regards like how you're trying to get to where you want to
Yeah.
go.
And I think I even noticed it too, is just like, and sometimes I could like put a parallel, but like if you find adversity in like training or, just being in the sport, like when you were in soccer, you know what I'm saying? Like when stuff didn't go your way, the way that you dealt with it is like what you end up dealing, how you deal with it when you're an adult, right? When you're out of that sport, when you're out of soccer. I mean, you still be playing soccer, so don't get me wrong, but you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Like,
I get what you mean.
those things that kind of make you, what were there any moments for you like in high school or whatever where it was just like, damn, I don't know where I'm at, whether it be personal, whatever you feel like sharing, but like, was
Hmm.
there any moment where you're like, damn, and like where nowadays, if you go through an adversity, you could be like, oh, this shit is easy.
Yeah. I think like the fact that you like segued into soccer is like a probably a good way to start, because I was really passionate about soccer. I wanted to play like collegiately. Obviously, things didn't work out, and like that's okay. Not but I heard about it. That's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. But I just remember probably when we got like our new coach, our like junior year, I think it was. We like initially had Coach Nader, who was like the homie, liked him a lot, and then I forgot like who our new coach was. But it was just like after that moment, I just wasn't looked at in like the same way that the previous coach was, and I think that just kind of like took down my stock. And like you said, when you're like I'm undersized, but like technically like I'm pretty good, so like getting more confidence as like I'm going throughout the years, and then you get like this new guy just to kind of not look at you like the way that things were going was definitely like a confidence hit. I mean, you navigate that by just like training and whatnot, and by putting in work, was still able to like make increments and like whatnot. Made varsity probably like the first like few games of like the season or like preseason for like senior year, but ended up getting sent back down to like JV. So just to kind of like go back to like that adversity and whatnot, where you were saying it's just like, well, dang, dude, like I don't know, like I've been working so hard for like this goal and whatnot, and for it to not fizzle out, I think I like imploded like a little bit. There was also like a lot of personal things going on around that time. My house got foreclosed on, and then applying to college, and like all this stuff was just like weighing in on me, and like I don't think I handled it that well. It was just kind of more of like a fuck it, fuck the world like kind of attitude. I still like finished the season like on JV, and like um, made the most of like the situation, which like I commend myself for. But kind of what you were hinting at, I feel like if I had my mentality now, I think that would have made me like work even harder and not just be like as complacent when it's like, like I'll fuck it, like I'll finish the season, but like maybe been like, all right, well, I might get sent down, but like fuck it, 2, 3, 4, 5 games into the season, like I can still like get up there and try to get some looks to like try to play like collegiately or like something like that.
Yeah, I feel that, man. I had a similar thing go on in college. I had a coach switch as well. And initially, right, you had a coach who initially recruited me and had, insight on what was going on with me. I had a new coach that now has a total different, insight when it comes to the sport. and how he not values different athletes, but like his position on different athletes aren't right similar to that of the coach that like recruited me, right? So for a minute I was in a development boats, right? I was angry about it.
Yeah.
And the more angry I was in it, I was progressing, but it wasn't a healthy
Progression. Yeah.
progression, right? So once I kind of what I had to do was chill out, right? Like, this is where you're at. As long as once I was able to embrace where I was at, that's when magic started to happen. That's when, yeah, okay, I was in the second boat for, the first 3, 4 races of my sophomore year when my coach comes in. But then over the, winter, the work that I've been putting in started to show. By springtime, I was a solid member in the first boat.
Yeah.
And my rowing and that was the thing. It's funny about Shaker kids, I think it's only Shaker kids who have this thing. It's like really good on erg because that's where we live on the erg for the most part. But
Yeah.
when you get on the water, the technical side, it's
Yeah.
usually garbage.
Oh, really?
And
I didn't know
usually, especially on the guy side. I mean, there's some outliers. You got Sophie, but she did her own thing, right? Like she was always in a small boat. Uh, in rowing, like if you're in a smaller boat before you get into a big boat, you become a really cracked athlete. Like you really get the sense of it. So she kind of had her own thing, but for the most part, I mean, you look at Lincoln. There's a whole list of other people that tried to make the jump, and it was rocky just because of technique. And technique is everything in rowing because either you're slowing the boat down or you're adding speed to it. So
Yeah.
yeah, bro, I needed a lot of help. So I was really angry about it, and it fueled my competitiveness. And that's why now, like, I think we had that conversation, in the last episode, is trying to find a different fuel for my competitiveness. So it's not aggression, it's not anger. Because
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
for me, a lot of times, and I don't know how it felt for you when competing or just competing in general, but it's like, man, this is for everyone that ever fucking doubted me. And
Yeah.
it's like on everything. It could be like fucking 2K. Like
Mhm.
for real, that's where my
Remember.
nerve would. Yeah, that's where my nerve would. It feel like the ultimate disrespect.
Yeah.
And it's like I gotta prove myself. And it's like why you gotta prove? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I really don't even fucking know. It's just it's a competitive tick, but it's also like built up. Like yo, people don't fucking respect me. I want my respect.
Oh, yeah. And
So how am I? You know what I'm saying?
yeah, and I don't think there's like anything wrong with like using that as like a source of motivation. I think it only gets problematic when that like emotion that you use to fuel like whatever you're doing can like consume you like pretty easily. Because I think it's like a very natural response when you do feel like slighted or that people aren't like giving you the amount of respect that you deserve to like I don't want to say like prideful because like that's like a bad emotion, but to like know your worth and like know where you're at with any given skill that you're like working on, you be like, you know what, despite what people are thinking, I know this in my heart to be true, and for that, that's gonna make me like work even harder. So I don't think it's necessarily bad to use anger as like a place of motivation to an extent, but when you allow that to consume you on like a daily basis, or you just found that you're like more angry with everyone and like your daily interactions, and it's like seeping into other aspects of your life, or something like that, then that's when you need to be like, all right, maybe I need to like dial this shit down.
Yeah, and okay, this might be a dramatic example, but for example, I like one of my best friends growing up, Dream on, and this is what I would think about to myself because sometimes I would just get fueled by that like that thought of like disrespect or feeling disrespected.
Yeah.
Every time we would be losing a basketball game or something, Dream on would say, Didn't they just talk about my mama?" He would dead ass be like this all the time and just hype himself up, bro. Start
That's sick.
huffing, puffing, and would actually turn into like LeBron for like
Mhm.
7 possessions. But he hyped himself up. and he like ha like and ones and crazy finishes like dude was going crazy on the court, man. It was wild, but he hyped himself up, and that's where I was like, I feel like that's what I'm doing,
Hmm.
right? If we want to talk about a moment back in the day that happened with us, man, I'm mad at you about something, bro. That's off of feeling disrespected, not from you, just in general.
Yeah, the
So
situation.
then, right, but for that to fuel that moment, me being mad, hey, run me my money back, bro.
No, yeah.
Right? That is so goofy, and that is where it is drowning it. Right? That is where that drowns it. So it's like being cognizant of where that's coming from,
Hmm.
and why, nigga, why are you tripping? Right? Like Dream On, for example, not saying Dream On, but really it's me, right?
Yeah.
Dream On, no one said nothing about your mom.
Yeah.
Chill.
Yeah.
But you huffed up, puffed up, like that's me huffed up, puffed up. I'm like, yo, like relax.
Yeah. I definitely get that.
So yeah, I totally agree. It doesn't necessarily, as long as it's done in a healthy way, and that's
Mhm.
why I'm looking for different forms. So it's not that way because I don't like it that way because I like to still have, you know, I don't want the teammates or the homies being intense like being a game 7 every pickup game.
Mhm.
And but I do want to win. Don't get me wrong, but
And
I'm not gonna put the weight of the world on it. Or if I lose, this is the ultimate disrespect to me.
no, yeah, and I think it is just about like managing, like, because I think like, in like all honesty, I feel like that's what like makes competitors like so great. It's like that ability to, really just like get themselves riled up. So I don't think that attribute is like wrong in and of itself. But like once again, when it's like seeping into other areas, then like yeah, it's like as someone who like I'm a people pleaser, and like that's something that I've been like working on just like throughout the progression like in my life. So it's like funny you say that. It's like I feel like my progression has been like the opposite because I feel like I've had to like learn to not necessarily get myself angry, but like or yeah, maybe angry or just like get myself riled up for like different things. Because I think when you're like are a people pleaser, just by nature, you're avoid confrontation. You don't want to like get on like anyone's bad side or like anything like that, and just kind of two sides of the coin there that can have its like own detriments to like um, not want to make anybody angry, so you don't like do everything in your best efforts to do this because you might feel someone feels like a certain kind of way like about it, and that like whole little rabbit hole. So I think there's like two sides of the coin there. Like yeah, you don't want to get like too angry to like the fact where it's affecting other parts of your life, but I think it's important that you don't want to be like too docile because I think a lot of my early like life, like high school and like middle school, all that stuff, it was just me being like docile, not want to like stick out and get on anyone's like toes or like anything like that. And I think that can have just as much like detriment to someone's like character building or whatnot as like being overly angry or like something like that.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with that. And I think for me it was more like, and I don't know what my thinking is on this, but I'll try to simplify it.
Yeah.
What's going on in my head right now? But basically, I felt like I was a people pleaser, but to an extent where it was I was feeling disrespected.
Hmm.
And then I'm also a straight shooter, so I don't like to just I'm okay with confrontation. But
Yeah.
I'd much rather you just have the confrontation and let bygones be got bygones and we could go about our way. Like I don't confrontation I feel like is part of the healing process, the real process. And then if you avoid it, I feel like it's just being you know what I'm
No,
saying? Like I just like that's really just how I feel. So I'm like, bro, like if I can man up to whatever I'm going on, what's ever going on with me, why are you not able to, man up to what's going on, woman up to whatever going on with you, right? Like so
yeah.
um for me, it's more like dial on that back because I really would just be like, well, because it kind of builds up. The people pleasing builds up to me then going, you motherfucker, man, you better
Yeah.
address, you know what I'm saying? You better address the what the fuck is going
No, yeah,
on.
it's like when that energy isn't reciprocated, you start to get like resentful, like at them for not being as like upfront about like whatever the situation is that like you were.
Yeah, and it just builds up and it's like that was so unnecessary. And
Yeah,
then it's unnecessary, but in all honesty, that's your feeling, right? That's your true feeling at the moment. Not saying that you should always bend to your feelings,
Hmm.
at all, right? You should control it. However, if that's how you feeling right now, if you pissed off, you mad, that's how you are at that moment. That's what's going on. So it really has been a dial back on my end. Like, okay, understand, what's going on in this situation. And
Hmm.
sometimes they don't even make sense, right? But you gotta handle yourself so that you're not put in that whirlpool. So
Yeah.
um, I think that's important as well, bro. But yeah, dude, people pleasing for me, if I people please too much, then it turns up to that. That's why I will always that's why I will always clown with you about the People's Choice Awards or whatever like that.
I
Because
was
for me, it was like, yeah, I could do this for a little bit, but I can't do this like D. And I was
yeah,
like, this ain't. I know it's not D either. I know it's you. And it's yeah. That's why I ended up sending you that video prior. It
yeah.
is you, but it's a different you. It's not the you I'll be hanging out with all the time on Van Eyck, right? It's not the, you
No, yeah.
know,
And like I'm glad you said that because like that was gonna be like another point. Like y'all calling me people's choice, like as much as like it was like all like laughing, haha. There were like different faces like I put on in front of people. I don't know, like it was for the sake of like not wanting to be like judged for like who I really was or like whatnot. But as I gotten older, I noticed like I did that a lot with people who I weren't like super close with. Obviously, with you guys, you got the full personality, like goofy self. But I think being that I wasn't as like sure of myself and as confident as I am now, there was like a part of me that just wanted to like reserve like some aspects, and that is I think what just kind of like created this people's choice like character, if you will. And damn, I lost my train of thought. But like, yeah, created this people's choice character, and I don't think I was like completely like cognizant of it. It was just like you said, I was a people pleaser, and I was just like, all right, this is what I do. You don't want to like step on anyone's toes. Don't want to say anything that's gonna like paint you in like a bad light, like kind of deal. I feel like I was just so anxious about like being liked by other people that people's choice like character came out like a decent amount. But like you said, when we're hanging with like the squad or like anything like that, you get like the more raw like Devon and like whatnot. And as I've gotten older, I've learned like the extent to like which I was doing that and was like able to make adjustments. And I like to think that I'm more authentic in my daily like interactions and whatnot. But I still think that is a thing that I can work on. Yeah.
yeah, I feel that, and I don't ever, as much as I joke about it. I mean, I feel like we've all done that,
Yeah.
and just speaking on that, TikTok that I sent earlier. Yeah, we all have different voices, right? Like, we all have different characters within ourselves. We have that professional character, we had that personal character, we have all that. For me, I always do try, and that's what the kind of the whole point of that TikTok was, is to try to bring those different versions of ourselves to be as authentic as possible.
Yeah.
And I try to do that, and I try to see, and sometimes I fail because I try to tote the line to say, is this, you know, was this the right way of going about it? Probably not. No. Maybe a professional, setting, or when you're emailing somebody saying, yo, what I'm saying? Maybe
Yeah.
that's just a sly example. I don't really do that, but you know what I'm saying?
No, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and that's just an easy example to put out there. But I try to be as genuine as possible, even on that professional side, so that people who are, who are working, above me or working with me, that they really understand that, I'm really for the mission. I'm really here, um, to help, and that I'm not here to BS or just here to get a paycheck, but that who I really am. I think also, I think that the your people's choice too was a way to preserve privacy, and so I can rock with that too, because I don't want everybody knowing my business.
No, yeah.
Even though if you do know me, you know a lot of my business,
Yeah.
but that's because I'm willing to share it with people that I'm comfortable and cool with.
Yeah.
So you do have to have that little privacy. There's gonna be those people that you'll see at parties all the time. You know their name, their Instagram handle, but that's all you know,
Mhm.
right? So uh you might need that, just people's choice, or haha, doesn't mean that you're investing in the long term. No offense to whoever that might be, but you know what I'm saying. So I totally get it. I totally get it on both ends. For me, I just sometimes as much as I can be social, I can also be antisocial, especially if I don't like the people. Like if I don't like the vibe, I can be judgy. You know what I'm saying? I can't
Yeah,
lie, I can be judgy. So I'm not rocking with it. I'm like, all right, I'm not rocking with it. And at least I could just say in my head, ain't nothing wrong with my homies for chilling with these people. It's
mhm,
just I'm not personally vibing with them, and
yeah.
that's the gist.
No, yeah, and like I feel like just being like that honest with yourself just like helps you because like you want to be around people who at least like share similar thoughts like with you or just like some similar vibes. And like that's not to say you don't want to have people that don't have like different thoughts and like whatnot that you have, but like where your energy is best placed. So if you can like pick up on that quick and just be honest, like hey, like people might rock with y'all, but I don't. So like therefore I'm gonna get out of here. I think that just like saves a lot of time like down the road when like you get into like gray areas where like maybe you did entertain like the conversation a little bit more than like you wanted to, and like now you're hanging out with them a little bit more you wanted to, and then like there's this little weird point where now you gotta like break this off just because you weren't like honest like in that moment with like how you felt about like everything that was going
Yeah, and I think for me, I think that's like kind of the main reason why I can be standoffish in the time or antisocials because I know it could be a slippery slope where you end up investing in someone and you don't really want to, but now you're there and
on.
now they're expecting and now it's an obligation,
Yep.
it's a task, and I don't like when people put that on me. I don't expect to do that to them as well, right? Like, that whole like, well, treat others as you would like to be treated. I don't want to treat you that way. I don't want to expect that I need to hear from you, Devon, every Sunday.
No, yeah.
I'm saying, we make it a goal of trying to do this podcast, but off and I got other people that we try to like do a weekly thing. So I'm not like,
No, yeah.
targeting that, but just
No,
in
yeah.
general.
But
Yeah, yeah, but just in general, like, yeah, now you hanging out with this person that you weren't even really trying to hang out.
I'm not expecting you to like have this like rapport with me. So therefore, like don't be surprised when like it's not there for you, and like vice versa, like kind of deal.
Exactly, exactly. So, um, and I don't have room for energy vampires anymore. I had a lot of energy vampires in my life,
Dude.
and it's not fun, especially if you're like, uh, sometimes I can be senile, or yeah, senile, not senile, cynical.
Yes, and
I can be cynical at times. However, I am very optimistic. I'm an optimistic person. I try to look at the glass half full rather than half empty. And I'm like always looking for what the next win is, whether it be a small one or a big one. But if I got someone on my side or I got someone, that I'm just, you could just be the homie, right? Just having drinks, just chilling with them, and it's always negative. It's always complaining. It's always this. It's always that. I I've had too many people like that in my life nowadays, or not nowadays, but back in the day where I don't want that again. There's too much opportunity ahead and too much things to like have like a great outlook on life to just have by your side. If that makes sense, to have those energy vampires. So that's the reason why. So that's another reason why I look to guard myself in situations like that. And I don't know if you've had to deal with any energy vampires, but
um,
for me, it's just I've had to put sand in the draw sand,
you know,
try to make a boundary and be like enough is enough.
no, yeah. I can't think of like any specific examples with like energy vampires, but I know we talked on this like before, but just getting myself out of like certain habits and whatnot. Obviously, you went to OU, did like a lot of partying and like whatnot, but since like realizing like that stuff is like draining, and we are kind of like hitting on this earlier, like stuff is like really cliche, like hey, let's be on your grind, blah 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 blah. But I think there's so much power like to those statements. It's just like so simple that like a lot of people like glance over it. But when you surround yourself with people who are in environments that aren't conducive to like where you want to go and like your growth, and you're not mindful about that, you're gonna be like looking at the clock and it's gonna be like you're 30, you're 35, and you're like, I was spending like all my time with these people, not like being cognizant of it, and like they took me here, even though like I wanted to go this way, and they took me here. And like the craziest thing about that is like your intentions really could be like pure in the sense that you're really passionate about doing XYZ, but when you allocate a lot of time to people who um, don't, like I said, contribute to just like maybe like mentality shift that you want to go to, or just like the productivity that you want to have and like whatnot, like they're gonna snatch that shit like right under you, dude. And then you look at the clock, and then you just got like a bunch of wasted time. So there isn't like certain people per se, but learning to be in certain environments is definitely, I think, like the biggest thing that I've learned like thus far. Because if you can get yourself in like a good environment, then like a lot of the good habits and stuff that you want to instill will like come from that. So like let's say, you want to wake up early, you want to read every day, you want to like work out every day. If like my core friend group is doing all that on like a consistent basis, just by like being around them so much, like that is going to rub off on me. Like obviously a percentage is going to be different towards like different people and whatnot, but when you place yourself in environments that can produce success and produce like the outcomes that you want, I think that expedites just like the process within terms of getting where you want to go.
Yeah, I feel that. And I got like a small example. I mean, even right now while I'm training, I talk with Justin, and I know he has different schedules. He works in the restaurant business, so I definitely get it. But I tell him, yo, bro, I'm game to hang, but if you're gonna show up at 10:30, 11, bro, might
Mm.
as well stay home, dude. I gotta go hit
Yeah.
the hay. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time.
Oh yeah.
I'm not gonna be awake, bro, to hang out till 2.
Oh
I
yeah.
just can't. And it's just like no offense. And then there are times though too where I will sacrifice because it is a friend of mine. All right, I'll stay up till 2.
Mhm.
I'm gonna get this workout in at 9 though. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Rather than do it early like I like to and get it over with. But these are sacrifices that you make. So I think that's one of the main things too, that while I'm back home is that I'm starting to take that time to be like, look, sacrifice this time because you were begging for this time when you were in Dallas. So when I'm with my nephews, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
I haven't met my niece yet, but when I'm with my nephew, you know what I'm saying? Spending time, making sure, you know, always around the crib all the time, right? So making sure I'm hanging out,
Yeah.
making sure I'm being there, making sure I'm hanging with the friends. Just started hanging back with Aiden. I'm like, bro, Aiden, my dog, bro. Aiden,
Okay.
man, that's one of my little homies, like straight up. And I have not seen him in years, and now I'm hanging out with him on Mondays, hoop. You know what I'm saying? Doing what we used to do back in the day. So it's just things like that, man. Taking that, not taking that for granted. Sammy's out here working like a workhorse. Is in nursing school now. He's got a
Mm.
week off. He got to go back May 1st.
Hmm.
So he had a Sunday to come over and hang. So that's what ended up happening. We got to chill.
Hey.
So just trying to look out for those days, or later on in the year, I'm gonna have some time. I'm gonna have some funds available. I could come visit you and Chris,
Hmm.
and maybe bring Larry along with me. You know what I'm saying? I got a few weddings coming up, so I get to invest in the things that I love, my friends, my family. So I think that was one of the big things too. That's been a great shift, and being home is just being able to invest in that and taking a sacrifice. Yeah, like yeah, dude, I might be tired tomorrow because we did this pod, but not really. You know what I'm saying? If I'm gonna go to bed at 11 all the time, I'm gonna spend this time, hanging with you, chatting with you, trying to, speak things out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Heck yeah.
In a way, it's another form of therapy. Not saying that it can ever do better than therapy, but sometimes, bro, it does, right? Like sometimes just having that homie, having people around where you could chat, talk with them
Yeah.
face to face. You know what I'm saying? Whether it be digital, whether it be in person, and just you know embracing that time and being like, yo, man, yeah, back in the day we used to have the conversation on time, right?
Hmm.
And how time was probably the most valuable asset in the whole world.
Yeah, it still
And
is.
that's right, it is, right? So we took for granted some of those moments, man, back in the day, bro. You know what I'm saying? When we were just, youngsters, just chilling, vibing.
Yeah.
Like, but we had fun with it. Like those are moments that I will always remember, right? So it's not like I'm like hating on it. Like, how could I have done that? I hate when people do play that though.
Yeah.
Like I hate when people. I get it for some aspects. Like I've heard some crazy stories along the way where people fucked up their lives in some other way. Like I get those. I get those. But
Hmm.
even some of the small ones where you got in trouble a little bit where it didn't matter today,
Hmm.
it's like, bro, I'm so glad I had that moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, just right. You know what I'm saying?
And like that's just like the whole point of it too. Like we, or at least like me, um, I like to think that like I'm more mature for my age, and that could just be me being like naive and whatnot. But when you grow up, you like to think that you have like the world sorted out, and then you got like everything together, and like obviously you don't. So like you said, just like with those little situations that we went through when we were younger, like sure you might have been able to been like more productive, or been more methodical with like stuff you wanted to do to really like capture every moment and make the most of like every second and like whatnot. But I feel like life, like that process is just like learning, all right, well, when you do this, you can, produce like A. And like we had to go through those situations where maybe we weren't like as productive as we need to be. Like still had fun, like don't get me wrong, like all that stuff, but maybe just wasn't as like cognizant of like, managing like the time around those things like better. Like by not being that good at that like aspect that young. When we were older, we got to like appreciate, hey, all right, now we can, we see how important this is. Now we can like make the adjustments and incorporate things to help like get better at that.
Yeah, you know what? Like, recently, man, I just been on a big, wrestling kick. And here's the reason why.
How
You know what
that
I'm saying? Well, WrestleMania came up, and always, every once in a while, especially, because now all you do is you don't need to pay pay-per-view anymore. All you need to do is have the website,
okay.
or not the website, but the channel. So now you get to watch these pay-per-views that back in the day, I remember used to be $60, right? And as a kid, I think even as a kid, you knew it was fake to some extent.
No, yeah.
But you more follow the storylines, and here's why I'm bringing it up is God is that like story maker, right? So like, yeah, obviously in WWE the wrestling's fake, but the reason why people are buying tickets for those matches
Hmm.
is because of the
Yeah,
story it tells, right? So what happened at WrestleMania, and I'll explain it to you because I've seen a lot of people try to explain this in podcasts, and they're not doing a really good job explaining of it.
okay, let's hear
And
it.
I this story is actually pretty solid, and it rings true to me in some ways, and that's the reason why like I'm like I'll repost it or whatever. Like I'll put it at like my dream board, not because I want to be a wrestling superstar, but it's the idea behind a dream. So back in the day, there's this OG wrestler named Dusty Rhodes, and
Okay.
Dusty Rhodes was like the working man wrestler. He was like out of shape, right? Like big dude, but he worked these wrestling circuits. So back in the day, before there was like WWE, there was wrestling circuits, and it was like small little territories of like professional wrestling. So northeast, so you only were like in right, you know, New York, Connecticut, you know what I'm saying, Massachusetts, like you were in that area, or maybe you were the Florida circuit and you were in Florida, Georgia, Alabama, and you just stayed before the WWE essentially bought all of those and
Okay.
made it one big, thing.
Conglomerate. Yeah.
Right. So Dusty Rhodes was always this like people's champion working for like the middle class men in America, and was kind of like, if you some of his like, his on the mic skills were like he's like hyping up a fight or he's celebrating a win is like notable nowadays. Like it's in pop culture, like to this day. But his dad was also a booker, and later on in the WWE was like talent management. So he would actually like train the new superstars, like teach them how to go over scripts, how to sell the fight,
Hmm.
moves, all that thing, right? So he was actually well respected. But when he came into the WWE, it was past his prime. So Vince McMahon, who was the head of WWE, when he got him onto his roster, he had him play this hokey character that wore polka dots. And since he was out of shape, he would just be dancing. And he looked like a fool, right? He looked like a fool. And Vince McMahon would always hint that he would like be a top card athlete. So he would actually like fight for the championship, but never gave him the opportunity. So he had a younger son who was also a wrestler.
Okay.
And
Dusty, right?
Say it again.
Dusty did.
Yeah, Dusty had a younger son, and he's known in WWE as Gold Dust.
Gold Dust, okay.
And Gold Dust is this raunchy, homosexual clown. If you look it up, bro, you'll be like, damn, they did him dirty.
You were going with that, but all right, continue.
Yeah, but like, not even clown. I don't know what this, like, I don't know.
Okay,
no offense.
All right, regardless.
So but the reason why Vince McMahon gave him that character was because he was already a champion wrestler at another organization, a competitive competition with WWE. Okay. So when he came into WWE, he's like, yo, F this family. Like, yo, we about to give you this corny ass gimmick. But it ended up being like one of the most famous gimmicks in the 90s. Like, he faced The Undertaker. He faced like all the big names as this character.
Yeah.
And he never got any respect on that. So Dusty Rhodes, that's it. He has his one son. His name is Dustin, but he goes as Gold Dust. And he has a younger son named Cody. So Cody came into the WWE, and the whole thing was like, I'm my dad's son. His dad kind of introduces him to, because that's when his dad like actually is like talent development in the WWE. So he brought his son, and his son is like a legit wrestler. All of them were like, a lot of professional wrestlers used to be legit wrestlers. So they're not just like the corny actors or what you would think, right? Like they all have that background usually.
Yeah.
And his son had like some decent roles, but was never a top card guy.
Okay.
His son was like in this like, he was in this group with Randy Orton where they were all like legacy. It was kind of like, all it was a group of guys who all were like second or third generation professional wrestlers, and they were like a group, and they were like the villain group of like the WWE when I was watching it back in the day. So this is where I knew him from, right? Okay. And I stopped watching, probably right before I got into high school or so. And in 2016 or around 2014, they had him do one of the same gimmicks as his older brother. So he started playing this like, I don't even know what it was. And his name was Stardust, right? So okay. Gold Dust, Stardust.
Yeah, so and imitate Gold Dust.
Yeah, exactly. So they weren't even original with his character. They kind of just gave him this crap position, right?
Yeah.
And they tried to sell a fight between those two, and they put it at the start of a pay-per-view. So that means that's like the lowest card. No one really cares about it. It's not a main event. But they thought that it would one day be like one of the top, like, they thought it was supposed to be like one of the best main events ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it never happened. So once Cody Rhodes, and that's the youngest son of Dusty Rhodes, he quit the WWE. And in the WWE, you got to get released, but he like made it abundantly clear, I'm not doing this no more. I won't be on TV.
Yeah,
like I'm gonna go do my own thing.
Yeah.
Now there are still wrestling circuits around, like his dad was in, but now they're indie, like they're independent, so they're owned by different people.
Mm-hmm.
And this dude went on to wrestle almost all of the legends in WWE who were off of like the roster. So like all the big legends, he ended up facing them and like showed that he was bigger than this like mid-card guy. Like he was like the shit basically.
Yeah.
And he never played. So in wrestling, there's two things. There's a heel and a baby face. A heel is the bad guy. Baby face is always the good guy. So that's your John Cena's. That's like The Rock usually, right? This year, The Rock was a heel, but I'll get into that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Cody Rhodes goes into this independent circuit. his wife was a commentator for WWE, so
Okay.
she left the WWE as well. So they
Okay.
kind of like this like power couple. They're going around these circuits, not really making a lot of money like compared to what they were making in WWE, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but he joins this like group of these like elite rowers or not rowers, excuse me, these elite wrestlers and stuff like that. And like, so he's leaving that huge institution of WWE and like betting on himself. And he's like, well, if y'all don't think I'm a main star, I'm gonna make myself the main star. So
Hmm.
that's essentially what he did for like 4 or 5 years. He had this one pay-per-view called All In, and
Hmm.
this All In pay-per-view was like it was a combination of a bunch of different independent wrestlers coming together to make this like one pay-per-view, and they sold out Madison Square Garden because they said no independent wrestling group could ever sell out Madison Square Garden, and this was like 2016. So he
Yeah.
sold it out though, and this was like all his like mastermind. He was like the headline, right?
Yeah.
So off of that, some billionaires noticed it, and some of the billionaires in Jacksonville, Florida, who own the Jaguars, noticed it. It's these Middle Eastern guys. They're real cool. They're Arabic, but they're cool as fuck. Like, regardless, they're like, yo, we wanna start this company. We want to start a new wrestling promotion to go against the WWE, and we want you to be. They made him an executive, and they were like, we want you to be like in charge of creative, all this, blah
Yeah.
blah blah.
Pioneer everything.
Yeah, so they start what is now the second thing under WWE is like the second wrestling fraction that is right under WWE is called AEW.
AEW.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like Turner Broadcasting bought it. So now it's like legitimately like a legit, thing. And Cody Rhodes was like along the way was like the pioneer for this. They're like, yo, if you came up with that, bro, we'll make you this. So he becomes a champion and all this. And the pay-per-view that I think did more numbers than a WWE pay-per-view at the same time.
Hmm.
The main event was him versus his brother.
Oh, really?
And
Dang.
his brother didn't have to play that corny gimmick.
Yeah.
And they had one of the best fights of like they legitimately say one of the best fights of the decade, right?
That's insane.
And it was like nuts because it was like they played the storyline of like, them being brothers, they're like half brothers, how Dusty thinks he's so privileged because his dad gave him like it was just like such a huge like thing,
Hmm.
and it outsold WWE.
Hey, good stuff.
But Cody put in his contract for a match against another former WWE wrestler. If he loses, he can never
Wrestle.
fight for the main championship ever again for that company.
Okay.
And he lost. So he could never fight for the main championship. And you the one that's like writing the script, right? So it's kind of crazy that's how it like ended up, right?
Yeah.
And so they wanted him to be a heel so bad. They're like all of his crowd wanted him to turn into the bad guy because he's always this good guy.
Hmm.
And he already showed that he like has the draw to be the main event guy, but they want him to be a heel so bad.
Yeah, and like use this moment to do that.
Yeah, so he never did. He never turned heel, and it was almost to a detriment. So what ended up happening was he left AEW, and people were like, what in the world? Like this is you're basically like part of your company. What are you doing?"
Yeah,
Well, he re-signed to WWE,
this is crazy.
and he was a mystery opponent for a pretty big wrestler at the time who ends up like coming into the story later on. He comes in and faces him at WrestleMania and gets one of the biggest pops. That means the audience just goes crazy. You're like, oh my goodness. And that's kind of like, oh, how every WWE superstar has their own like intro music and all that.
Yeah.
Usually Vince McMahon picks that, right? Like he's like, we're gonna have you make a song for the Undertaker. We're gonna have you make a song for these wrestlers, blah blah blah. Cody Rhodes had someone make his song back when he was in the Independence run, and he used his leverage of being a superstar now that he forced WWE to use that song. So he came out no other gimmick. He came out as the gimmick he was at the last, at the last wrestling for the last wrestling organization.
Yeah.
And his dad's name was the American Dream, right? That was his dad's original name. So he became the American Nightmare.
Oh dang! So
So
he
that's like his name. So he got it tatted on him. He got like a skull with like the American flag. So it's like that's his whole gimmick. He the American Nightmare.
yeah.
So he legitimately goes crazy. He's in this match like 4 or 5 months into him returning at SummerSlam. He in a Hell in a Cell, and he tore his pec on TV, bro, and
Dang.
kept fighting, bro. So people are just like, yo, this is wild. Like this dude is really like that dude for real.
Yeah, always something.
Right. So now I'll give you a little backstory. For right now, or for the last like 4 years, so he came back in 2022. Yeah, he came back to WWE in 2022.
Mm,
For the last 4 years, Roman Reigns, who is The Rock's cousin, has been the champion of the WWE, but he's the Universal Champion. So that means both the WWE Championship and the World Heavyweight Championship
mhm.
turned into one championship.
Okay.
And that's how cracked he was. So he was legitimately like owning
Thinking.
all of he's damn near Thanos.
Yeah.
But he had the longest run in WWE history, 4 years.
Dang.
And but he was always a limited wrestler. So he would only wrestle on pay-per-views.
Hmm.
So the thing that made Cody Rhodes so special, like now when he came back to the WWE, is he would fight every match. He would even do the matches that they don't even put on TV.
Hmm.
So when they just go see it, so they do like 300 shows a year, and
Yeah.
80% of the shows are not on TV. So he's fighting like nonstop. So people are basically calling him the people's champion because it's like, bro, we don't get to see the champion all the time wrestle, and you are legitimately like the main card dude, and you wrestling nonstop.
Hmm.
Well, finally he got his moment to face Roman Reigns for the title last year,
Hmm.
but his cousin. So Roman Reigns has all these different cousins. He got like 5 or 6 cousins, and Roman Reigns. Here's another thing about Roman Reigns' reign. For 4 years, he always had interference in his wrestling match. There was
Hmm.
always somebody. The ref wasn't looking. He had he had a weapon. Or his cousin come in, or somebody that don't like the person that he facing comes in and
Hmm.
knocks him out. So it was always he always got away with these grimy wins, right?
Shit.
But he was the ultimate villain because you thought he was like untouchable, right? Even on the storyline, he's untouchable, basically.
Yeah.
Well, last year he looked touchable. Pause. No, did he?
Hey, yeah, you're funny, bro.
And Cody was actually about to, you know,
Get
finally win a championship, and he was gonna be the only person in his whole family to ever win this title, right? Like,
okay.
so people are like, bro, let him do this thing, bro. His cousin interferes, knocks him clean out, and he loses the match. Had people devastated. So for the whole year, people were like, dang, they really gonna put him through the mud, but next year he gonna win the championship for sure. Like there's
Okay.
no they're not gonna let him get an instant rematch. They're gonna let him go through so much. They had him go through Brock Lesnar, Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, his daughter.
Brock Lesnar, yeah, Brock Lesnar. Oh yeah, his daughter go to school over near you.
Yeah.
Um, Brock Lesnar, this was his last few matches in WWE, was facing Cody Rhodes in the summer. So last summer he faced him, and this is the first time Brock Lesnar ever gave his competitor kudos for
Mm.
beating him. So it's
Mm.
kind of like, dang, he earned the respect of Brock Lesnar. Like that dude is legit.
Yeah.
And basically, so they had him go through a feud with him for a while, for 4 months after he lost the championship match. And dude fought Brock Lesnar with one arm. And yeah, it's scripted, but without a doubt, this boy was going through it. Like he was working like a madman, still doing those shows, still doing all the shows.
Hmm.
So people he's got to win. He's got to win. Well, there's a way to qualify for WrestleMania for a title championship, or to win a title, or to challenge for a title. It's called Royal Rumble,
Okay.
and that's like a 30-man. Everybody comes into the ring, and you got to throw them over the rope, right, until the last person remains.
Okay.
Well, Cody Rhodes ended up winning the Royal Rumble last year and this year, and the last time that had been done was in the '90s by Stone Cold, right?
Mm.
So he did this incredible feat. Well, the next day, The Rock comes on to Monday Night Raw and essentially tells Cody, step aside. I'm going to challenge Roman for the title. So the crowd, the audience went, and this when I started following it again.
Yeah.
They went ballistic because they're like, bro, because I failed to mention this part. 2 years ago, after he won that WrestleMania match, he basically was like, the WWE has done my family dirty for so many decades. Never let us be who we truly are. We're main event, worthy people. And they've always shitted on my family because they've always worked with other companies. Well, now I'm back. I'm a main star guy, and now my only dream, and since my dad isn't able to be here anymore, is to win the title for my dad. So that's like one of the main things, right?
To it, yeah.
Yeah. So that builds the hype to it. So niggas are mad. They're like, yo, The Rock can't just come back after like being gone for like damn near 15 years and just be like, I'm a challenge for the belt. Like you don't even be coming to wrestling, bro.
You're not even
on Hollywood
more.
Yeah. And he became an owner. So that was the thing. Like in real life, The Rock became part owner of WWE.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, dude, he's using his leverage as now being part-time owner or part owner to get this title. So people are heated. And that's actually where they were going with the script, where Cody was going to step aside and let The Rock face him. The crowd and the public reaction was so crazy that they had to pivot. So what they ended up doing was WrestleMania nowadays is in 2 nights instead of one, because one night used to be like 7 hours and nobody fucking watches 7 hours. Yeah. So they do 2 hours, or they do 2 days. They made the first day Cody Rhodes, a tag team match. Cody Rhodes and the guy he faced at the first WrestleMania when he came back. Mm-hmm. This guy used to be the partner of Roman Reigns, who's the champion.
Yeah.
And then Roman Reigns versus The Rock. And it was a tag team match. Okay. The winner of that tag team match decided whether or not the championship match with Cody versus Roman would either be no disqualification or all rules. So if anybody like comes in, it's they'll be disqualified, stuff like that.
Okay.
Well, The Rock and Roman Reigns won the first night, and it made it a no disqualification match again. Mm-hmm. So any of Roman's family could come in and get involved at any point in time.
Yeah, some weak ass haymakers or something like that.
Exactly, and ruin the day just like they did, just like it happened last year. Well, they fight, and it's a pretty good fight. Like they don't wrestle like it's still fake. Don't get me wrong, but the moves it looks legit. Like they're both like some of the 2 best wrestlers. So this is the main event. His cousin comes back that ended the match last year, and that's where the fake WWE stuff. Of course, he kicks out this time, but throughout that year, that cousin had a feud with John Cena, and damn near ended John Cena's career. Like for real, like legit. John Cena is like only gonna have one more match now, so he's trying to plan like what his retirement match is gonna be, but like legit, this dude like threw him through like tables and all that, like destroyed him.
Yeah.
Well, John Cena comes out and saves the day for Cody.
Oh dang! Okay.
And throws him through the table, and throws Roman as well.
Well, Cody ends up getting the belt, or
check it out. So John Cena come and save the day, but who is one of the John Cena's biggest rivals? The Rock. So The Rock comes out, and then The Rock just started dropping dudes left and right. The dude that fought Roman Reigns, or the dude that used to be Roman Reigns' teammate and fought Cody Rhodes at his first WrestleMania, the guy that he was a tag team with the night before, came in and tried to interfere, and he got. And then The Rock is like about to start whipping people, bro. This is his corniest gimmick, bro. he called the final boss, bro. This is his name. And I'll tell you the whole reason why I'm telling you this whole lore, right? I'm getting you involved in the whole lore. But the Undertaker come out, bro. And the Undertaker just appear out of nowhere. Choke slam The Rock. And they just disappear, bro. Yeah, exactly. So people like, So then Cody finally got to hit all of his moves and won the belt.
Hey, that's sick.
And
Where
the
you was
coolest.
talking, bro.
Yeah, and everybody, and even like when the announcer has always been friends with the family the whole time. The announcer damn near in tears, bro, while he like giving the speech. So while they do like the 1, 2, 3, he goes, finish the story. So he finished the fucking story, and it's like fucking lit, bro, because it's
Hey.
like legitimately he's this mid card dude, felt disrespected, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was in this big institution, and like anybody who was anybody would be like, bro, shut the fuck up. Like your life is good. You in the WWE, like just do
Yeah,
it. But he saw more than that, and he had to step away from that, bet on himself to where he had the leverage to be, you know, who
that
he thought,
character.
yeah, to be who he thought he was capable of. So that's the reason why, that's the reason why I bring up this whole point is like sometimes you got to get away from things and bet on yourself and right fail, right, you know what I'm saying, like how we were just talking about with content creation, like go with it, see how it goes, and fail along the way, trip, stumble, but find new alternatives and new avenues
Mm-hmm.
to make something big. And at the end of the match, man, his family come out, his mom come out because his dad no longer there, and all of like the best WWE like superstars came out, and they broke the script because it wasn't even like everyone know it's scripted at this point, but it's like like you had John Cena, Randy Orton, who are usually like rivals or whatever. They coming out and just cheering them on because they're like, "Yo, we saw it in you, bro. Yeah, even though your boss didn't see it in you, man. Like you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
and now Vince McMahon no longer a part of WWE, so
mm-hmm.
that was a big factor into how this whole thing was able to
Play out.
to play out the way it did. So now he's like the working man's champion because he's still fighting all these damn matches, and he don't even need to, right? Like he could easily be like, I'm only fighting pay-per-views, or I'm only, you know what I'm saying, I'm
Yeah,
only
just
doing
want to get
this.
some money, blah blah blah.
Right. So that's why I've been hyped on it, man. I would always use wrestling as an external motivation as well. As goofy as it may seem, but these storylines is what draw people in, and the storylines is what, you know, if you could see a part of yourself in one of those wrestlers, or whatever, like that, you're like, damn.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what gets you hooked. So I'm not like saying like I'm watching every episode and I'm keeping up on all the lore, but I know
You can use
that,
that to
right.
streamline some motivation just with like the stories and stuff they tell within there, just because you can like resonate it with.
And think about this. This story not even really that scripted, right? Like
Yeah.
he left the company because he felt like, you know what I'm saying? That's not part of the script.
No, yeah,
You know
right.
what I'm saying?
Wasn't getting paid to lead the company, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, that wasn't part of the script. And that made the match even more, because it
Alert.
was real. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah,
So it hyped me up, but it also made me think about like a lot of different things, right? Like, man, it's gonna be hard. It's never gonna be easy. This man, when he left the WWE, he went on to have this list of the hardest wrestlers, all the wrestlers that he wanted to face, but he couldn't have opportunity because, of the institution he was in, and he went for it. And he probably lost a lot, even if it's scripted. He probably got his ass beat. He probably broke a lot of bones.
mm-hmm.
I mean, the dude freaking, tore a pec, and that was supposed to be his like championship run when he first got to the WWE. So, there's always going to be so much around the road or throughout the road that is scripted and that isn't scripted, like from God, that is scripted, that God has,
Yeah,
has in store from you. And then there's going to be some curveballs that he even knows is coming, but it's not part of the script, like for real. But it's how you respond and how you keep pushing and how you get to it. So that's the whole reason why, I just took up all that lore. But
no, yeah.
Yeah, dude.
I think no, yeah, I think like that's great. And just kind of to reiterate what you were like saying there, I think the beauty in just like going through like those adversities and surrounding yourself with like good people and like cutting stuff out. It's not going to be like a simple process, and there's going to be like people close to you got to like cut out, or friends that you've been with, for like 20 years, like whatever, that you got to get out of the equation or what have you, and that's going to lead you to a certain path that maybe you didn't thought you were going to be at, or you thought they were going to be a part of, and just learning to like you said, know your worth and being able to like roll with those punches to get to that place that you want to be. And I think like a big underlying like motif of that is like you're not gonna know how it's gonna work out. So him like leaving the WWE and going to like I forget what the REW or whatever it is. You don't really know how things are gonna play out. Like you said, it's a very scripted industry, but to leave a lot of those things to like chance because like maybe they don't get the amount of viewership that they thought and therefore they can't like make ends meet with like setting up like certain fights and everything like that, all the nuances of it. He had to take a bet on himself amidst a lot of adversity, and yeah, you're never gonna know how it plays out. But I think the most important thing out of that is you just got to be willing to commit to it, and regardless of like how shit hits the fan, let's say all that stuff doesn't come into fruition and he doesn't win the fights or whatever, at least like at the end of the day he can have peace of mind because he took a path that he thought was like best for him, even if it was at the expense of like losing all the money that he could have made by staying in the WWE or what have you.
Yeah, dude, and I think it's just a valuable thing to learn just in life is, I mean, like we've already talked about ourselves, it's just that time is the most valuable asset. And if you have anything that you really want to pursue, it's best that you go for it and not contemplate on it, not think about, well, what about this? What about that? Action is the best action. That sounds so fucking corny, but it's real. Action is the best action. Going for it.
Yeah, dude. And like we talked about this a little bit, but there's like all these quotes and like everything out there, and they're always like so cliche. But there's so much like power in them. And I feel like for me, like personally, like someone told me like, oh, just gotta, do stuff, action. Told me that like 10 years ago, whatever. I'm like, all right, bro, like whatever. But as I've gotten older, you realize like how like powerful that like one little word is, just action. Just like be proactive with the things that you want to do and you want to accomplish and allocate, time towards that. And you'd be surprised at how much that you can get out of, you know, just doing like those small things on a more consistent basis. So yeah, as cliche as they sound, like it's really like life is like pretty simple. Like stay present, like you said, do the action. Like it's hard, don't get me wrong, but the process is in which people need to take to at least attempt to get where they want to be are like simple. Just do it, and then let the cards play where they do. But at least like you can be content at the end of the day knowing that you tried to achieve something that you wanted to, and you weren't just like doing someone else's uh passion or dream that they had. You pursued something that you thought was like credible and fulfilling to
Yeah, bro, dude. Hey, you nailed the nail right on the coffin. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Is there anything else you want to, just, is there anything that you want to leave the viewer with? I'm thankful for whoever is listening to all of this. I really appreciate it.
you. Yeah, and I just want people listening, like for that scene that you did set. Some people like, hey, this dude went on like a whole big tangent. But I think like the picture you painted was like pretty beautiful in like the sense that you encapsulated all the aspects of the hero's journey, is what like some people call it in life. That there's going to be adversities, there's going to be situations that don't play out the way in which you want to, but at the end of the day, if you can have unrelenting faith in our Lord and Savior Jesus and yourself, and just let the cards where they fall while pursuing like those things that you want, then you're going to live a lot more fulfilling life. And like we said, these things are very simple, like in theory, but they're gonna be hard to go out and like do. But if you can at least like have that reassurance within yourself that you can like get it done, and bet on yourself to do it, then you never know. Then things can work out in your favor and could be 100 times more better than what you could have ever expected.
And that was going to be my last statement there, man. Is with God's plan, it's usually 20, 50, 300 times better than what you expect.
Yeah.
A lot of times we play ourselves just in general. And I think that's just the human, I don't even know. That's the human psyche. We tend to do ourselves dirty sometimes, but
all the time.
yeah. And But if you really lock in, you know, find God, as corny as that is, find God, uh, know that He has something special
Yeah.
and something aligned, something better aligned than what you think is the best for you.
Yeah.
Because in most things we're ignorant, and most things we are. So, man, Davon, man, I'm so grateful for you, brother.
Yeah.
We definitely will have some more. We'll definitely be better at it.
But like that's the beauty of it. Like it's not supposed to be perfect, and just the fact that we're
Yeah.
doing this, dude, like I love, and like yeah, it's getting like slowly and slowly like more consistent. But like I said, the fact that we are just at least like texting about it more and like being a little bit more mindful about it is like what I love, because years down the line we're gonna be like, damn, I'm glad like we were doing this, dude. So yeah, always a pleasure hopping on here and talking with you, bro.
Word. D, thank you for your time. Thank you for
You're
sitting
good.
through that WWE lure.
No, dude, you're all good. You set the scene perfectly, so I couldn't ask for much more.
Word, y'all. What's out media? Peace out, everybody.
Always a pleasure, guys.